welcome to today's Facebook Live. I'm your host, Brittany Bird, and I am super excited to be here today with Leslie, who is going to talk to us about how she was able to help her 3 children get through college debt-free. Leslie, we are so excited to have you here today. And for those of you that are watching, I want you to say hi in the comments and let us know where you're joining us from, okay? And you're going to have a chance to win one of Jonathan Goodman's books just by saying where you're from in the comments, okay? So, Leslie, let's get started. I think that a lot of people are really excited to hear your story. So do you want to give us kind of a little bit of background about you?
Sure. I will say that I've only gotten one through college so far.
Okay.
One through college, one's in college, and thankfully one's still in middle school. So I've got a little bit of time. I've been in the industry. I started teaching group exercise in college because they gave me a free gym membership if I would teach something. So who doesn't want a free gym membership? And that was 20 years ago. And I have gone through, like for lots of us started in group exercise, moved on to personal training, decided I would do the health coaching thing. And then I actually got more and more certifications, medical exercise specialty, just kind of more and more education. And I've worked for all the big box gyms, and I've worked for nonprofit gyms. And back in 2015, I stepped out and started my own business. And also, that's the same time that I jumped into OTA. So since 2015, I've been able to build up my business, and I followed the half online, half in person model that was not necessarily. It's one of the options that the book, the OTA suggests. I was naturally doing that, so it just kind of validated that was an okay thing to keep doing. Plus, the online world was brand new for me, and I needed to keep something, I needed money to keep coming in. So I kept my in-person. So over the past few years, I have channeled, in-person training to be a little bit different, and then grown the online side of the business. And so here I am. And the whole idea of starting the business, I started it because we had no college plan. Like lots of people who went through, holding a job or holding their houses like in the 2008, 2009 crash. We lost a lot of money, and we had no college plan and 3 kids. So I had a daughter who was graduating back in 2015, and we didn't have a dime saved for it. And like, what can I do? What are we going to do? And so I was like, all right, well, now's the time to jump. So I jumped in. Kind of slow, but kind of fast at the same time. And the whole idea is that the business is the college plan, and it's working.
Wow.
It's working. I paid off her final college bill back, like last month. And yes, we did not pay everything. Of course, she's had a job and she's had scholarships and she's done her share, but we wanted to give our kids an opportunity to graduate debt-free, because we know how much debt can strangle you. And I've also run a debt-free business. So I'm going to put those two together because that's been super important to us. So yeah, that's where I am now, and growing the business and getting ready for another pivot.
Wow, that is incredible. Like, okay, I have to ask, what do your kids think of that? You literally created a business to help, and that you're working to help pay for them to go to school.
Yeah. My girls are super proud of it. And when I made the final payment, I sent a text to my 2 girls that are in college, just kind of said, oh my gosh, you know what I just did? I just paid off, Hope's final bill. And, they're super excited. And I think it's not just because I don't think you can realize how much of a gift that really is until later down the road. So I think that will come, but they're pretty proud of me. In fact, I get, Mama is a rock star every once in a while. So occasionally I do something right. But I think that that's a gift that they won't truly realize what it is, probably for another good 5 to 10 years, or when their kids are in college.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So for those of you that are watching, what would like an extra $1,000 a month do for you and your lifestyle? Like that's really when you break it down, right? I mean, I don't know if you want to share how much you've paid for them so far, but that's a tremendous opportunity that so many other people don't have. You think you work a 9 to 5 job, you are capped. A lot of people are capped at how much money you make. Whereas with online training, you have the ability to take on, like we were talking about, 32 clients, and every single client directly affects your ability to be able to put money towards those college things.
Absolutely. I will say that I understand that it's a luxury for me to be able to do this because I'm not the sole person who's putting money into our household. My husband has a full-time job, and the best advice we ever got was to never live off of two incomes, was to always budget our family's budget on one income in case one person ever lost their job, wanted to be home, needed a transition. So we've always lived off of one income. So I have to say that we had a really good piece of advice that we actually took, this advice, because that probably saved us from a lot of disaster. So I do realize that for me to do this and to do this as the primary college is not something that everybody can do. So if I was doing this and paying all the bills for the household and the food and everything, it would be a different story. So I don't want to take away anything from people who this is their sole thing. So I do recognize that. With that said, we got really strict on this budget. I don't take a salary because this was the goal. And so we've said no to family vacations. We've said no to a lot of other things so that we could say yes to this. You asked how much. I figured a rough estimate last year, I paid $17,000 between the two girls for college education.
For those of you that are watching, what would an extra $17,000 a year do for you, right? Like that, I'm thinking of all the things that I would do with an extra $17,000, and that really adds up. So, Leslie, I have to ask you, and how many clients was that based on, and how much do you charge per month? Because I think people, when you hear online training, you think, oh, a lot of people tend to think of like it's just one client, or it's just, it's not enough to make a difference, but it's not in the same way that we talk to our clients about nutrition and meals and workouts, like they all add up. And even if it's a small amount, something is better than nothing. So, I mean, you obviously didn't start with the amount of clients that you have now. So what was kind of that first moment for you where you were like, okay, I'm gonna sign up this first person? Like what were you first charging? You said that was in 2015, right?
Yeah. I was first charged nothing. I first charged nothing. I started with my in-person clients, and I gave them the value add. So the people who were with me in person, I needed to practice. And so I just value added the online coaching piece to them with no additional charge. So I needed to gain my own confidence that this was going to be something that could work. And then as that grew, I started, getting, they actually were my best marketing tool. They told other people about it. It grew really fast. After that, I was put out a couple of Facebook calls, asked my people to tell their stories, and they did. Which is another tip in the book. You get your people to tell their stories to their friends, and then strangely enough, they do. And I ended up with about 50 online clients at a launch a couple of years ago. Right now I have maybe 32 online clients, and I have, my in-person clients that I've moved to small group trainings because I need more time. So Yeah, I
So
need more time.
what do you charge per month then?
If you're only online doing a particular program that I'm using, and I never and I'm not writing a workout for you, then it's $79 a month. So
Okay.
it's really affordable. And then if you want block scheduling, then if you want to meet with me about your workouts, or you want to, I do a lot of nutrition coaching. That's primarily why people meet with me online. Then they buy blocks. So 5 hours for 265, 10 hours for 485.
Okay, that's an interesting way to do it. Very cool.
So the more you meet with me, the cheaper it is per hour. It makes no sense, that I'm not charging these big amounts, but it's working. And the other thing is, I didn't want online training to be out of reach for people like me, who have a budget, who have 3 kids, and who have bills. I didn't want it to be, for me, the elite market is not my market. I needed mid-wage earning. That's my market for this particular, group.
I think that's really important to note too, because how many of us, if you're watching, let me know if you've ever seen one of these ads pop up in your newsfeed, right? You see the picture of the trainer with like a Lamborghini or whatever, and they're like, learn how to charge $5,000 for a client. And you're like, man, what, are you going to this person's house and cooking for them every day? And like, with them, I'm always like, ethically, I could never charge someone $5,000. I just feel that as we have the opportunity to act with integrity, and charging someone $5,000 for online training, I mean, unless you're showing up to someone's house and you're cooking for them, it doesn't make sense how they're billing these types of prices. So I want to take a moment to say hi to everyone watching. I see Lauren's joining us from Honolulu. That's amazing. And Nate says, smart, that's what I'm trying to do with my one-on-one and small group as test subjects while I dial in my systems and major pillars. Nate, that's a great idea for those of you that are doing online training right now, or sorry, if you're doing in-person training and you're trying to get online, like Leslie said, it's a really great opportunity to use the clients that you already have as test subjects, especially if you've been working with them for a while. They're going to give you some really good, honest feedback, and it's only going to help you improve your program.
Hey, real quick, I know you're into this episode, but I wanted to let you know that if you want to get started with online coaching, then I have a free gift for you. It's a free 3-day course, and in it you'll learn the core truths guaranteed to get you online fitness clients. You can register with your email at onlinetrainer.com/intro, or if you're in the United States, simply text PTDC to 444-999. Thanks, now back to the show.
So Leslie's going to talk to us about her daily rituals. So Leslie, do you want to break those daily rituals down for us?
Block scheduling is probably the biggest thing that I do that helps me enough. It helps me to order my day, both for online and in person. I even, with my block scheduling, I color code what I do through the day, which sounds kind of funny. But if I don't put it in there, then I will give that time away. So that is helpful. And then I guard those blocks. Like, I put my phone down. Sometimes I'll just turn it off during those times. Different blocks of time I might do in a different location. So I'll actually do a physical transition between the blocks. So if I've done a couple of hours, writing, then when that time is up, I will get up and do a physical change, whether that's, take a walk around the gym or take a walk around the house or do something that actually transitions my brain so that I can think differently in a different avenue. Because if I just change from maybe a writing or a content block to a coaching block, then those are going to get kind of muddy in that transition. So a real physical transition helps me guard the blocks.
So what do you have? What are, like, let's say for this week for your schedule, what are in those different blocks, so we can give people an idea when you're talking about blocks, because you just cut out a little bit there when you were chatting.
Sure. In the blocks, so like I have in-person blocks, and then I have like even my personal workout blocks, and then I have content blocks, and then I'll have email blocks. So it looks like my day is crammed, but really what it is, it's a way to help me know what I'm supposed to think about at that time.
Okay. So how long, for those that are watching at home, what would you say, how long would be like a content block or an email block? Do you have different allotments for each time?
I do. And it really depends on like kind of what's coming up. I'll even block out my month ahead of time. So I know that if I'm working towards a particular launch or if I'm working towards a particular theme, I'm going to give that some thinking time. And that thinking time is going to be bigger because I know I have to get the chatter out of my head in order to think. So if I know it's creative time, that's going to be a bigger block with some space around each side because I cannot transition my thinking as quickly as I can transition, say, a workout to, something else. So, say, for example, Friday afternoons, I schedule out my Facebook posts for the next week, which probably isn't a great time because it's not my most creative time. But right now, I do admin and Facebook scheduling for the next week, the Friday before. So that will get a solid 90 minutes. Sunday night. Oh, go ahead.
You mentioned something when you were, sorry, I was just reading Deborah's comment here. Deborah, I'll ask that in 1 second. When you had talked about creative blocks. So I think this is really valuable because I feel like a lot of people feel that they need to be actually like in the trenches working. So how do you differentiate what you're like, how have you allowed yourself to have those creative blocks? And what do you typically do during those creative blocks? And also, kind of, I guess I should have asked this first, but do you kind of look at the calendar at the beginning of the month and say, this is the goal for the month that, I have this launch coming up, and I know that I need to do this many emails and I need to do this many Facebook posts in order for the launch to work? Because I think a lot of people, like our clients, are not necessarily proactive when it comes to how they schedule their time. And if you're familiar with like first things first, we have the important, urgent, not important, not urgent. And I think a lot of people get held up doing those not urgent, not important things, like answering their emails first thing in the morning. So do you have a system of how you categorize what is like your highest priority?
So I used the little 3-point thing that John Goodman sent out, I don't know, last year. So of the 3 things I need to hit tomorrow, like if you follow around Todd Durkin, it's his BHAG, his big, hairy, audacious goals. 3 things each day. These are the things I have to fit in. But on a Sunday night or at the beginning of a month, and if I don't take that creative time, I won't get that creative time. For me, a lot of times I have to walk, I have to move. We all, probably a lot of us are like that. That's why that's why we do what we do. But my best thinking sometimes comes when I'm moving, when I'm walking my dog, which is helpful because my dog has to have a walk. So it helps me feel like I'm not doing nothing because I also have to feel like something is happening. So when I'm moving, I'm thinking, I'm recording thoughts on my phone as I'm thinking. But I have to give myself permission to release like activity and go into this thinking space and then really work on getting those thoughts down on paper. I'm a paper pencil kind of girl. So my whole office wall I got this big gigantic, my husband calls it the $32 wallpaper. It's the big Post-its like that are giant so that I can just write down thoughts and I follow my tracks, that way on the wall. So I'm not sure I really answered your question. But if I don't make that time to think, there's no way I'll be able to create anything new. So I schedule, or if I'm walking the dog, it might be a podcast listening time, or I might be thinking about a podcast that I was listening to. and how to implement that. Yeah, I'm always thinking about it.
I hear you. When I walk my dogs, I'm always listening to a podcast, or I'll have a really great idea, and I find a lot of people feel that they need to be doing something all the time. And then the problem with that is, like you said, you don't give yourself enough creative time, and you can't. And I come up with my best ideas when I'm walking or when I'm working out. So I think that's something that for those of you that are watching, ask yourself: are you giving yourself that time to be creative, to come up with your next big thing? That's a really valid point. Now, to never ask, how did your blocks change from when you were first starting and setting up your systems to what they look like now?
When I first, I wish I had my phone with me. When I first, because everything's color coded, when I first started my blocks, there were colors interspersed all over the place. Like, this is a training session, this is a nutrition coaching session, this is reading, there was not a continuity to it. And now my blocks are all solid colors. And then there's a break, and then there's a solid color. So they went from much more spontaneous or more sporadic to very focused. I can knock out way more stuff this way. When it's like, this is a block of orange, this is a block of yellow, I know what those colors mean. And it's not orange, yellow, red, green, blue, it's orange, yellow, and different days for different things.
Yes, I think that's a really great point, because I think that a lot of people try to do a whole bunch of stuff in one day rather than doing, like you mentioned, you do your Facebook post on Friday afternoon. So I think that's a really good point for those of you who are watching at home, that you're taking larger chunks but putting them on different days. So you might only do your pre-scheduled Facebook post on Friday afternoon, and not every day, right? Because it takes a time for our brains to transition into working in that time, that if you're switching between different, whether you're writing programs or writing Facebook posts or, whatever it is, it takes, you have like a 10-20 minute buffer until you kind of get in the zone. And if you're switching every hour, you're actually losing time because you're asking yourself to switch out of that. So I think that's a really, really good point. So
think about meal prep. How much time meal prep saves? And we tell our clients that they need to, if you want to save time during the week, you plan your meals on Sundays. It's no different. You plan your work just like you would plan your meals.
Absolutely. Okay, so what was your next tip? Because I think I sidetracked us there.
Gosh, I've really talked so much about block scheduling because I really cannot stress that enough. I don't know if you heard me say that I even have my showers scheduled in there. No, it's ridiculous. But the reason for that is because I will give that time away to somebody if I don't take it. And if I know that somebody's asking for a time and I look at my schedule, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, that time's not available. I don't have to tell them I'm going to take a shower. But my family appreciates that I schedule my showers.
I think that's a really valid point. Not the point about the showering, but I think a lot of people, a lot of coaches are worried to say no to clients, right? But the problem is, we talked about this yesterday, when you say no, or when you say yes to someone else, you're saying no to for something for you. So that's a really great point. So I wouldn't mind actually if you repeated that. For those new trainers that are watching, what would you tell them when a client says, oh, can you come in? Because we've all dealt with it, right? Where they're like, oh, can I have the 8:30 time slot? And you're kind of like, actually, that's my reading time. You don't, like you said, you don't want to say that. So what would you tell that client?
I'd say, I'm sorry, I already have something in that spot, or that time is not available. Here's another time that is. So absolutely. You don't have to give somebody an excuse. You just say that time's not available. You call the dentist, they don't tell you that they're going out for lunch. They just say that time's not available. So our time is no different.
Absolutely. I think that's a really, really great point. And if you guys at home appreciate that, let us know in the comments. That is super, super valuable. And I know when I first started coaching, and because I worked at a big box gym as well, and you were like not allowed to say no to a client. So you would be there at 6:30 in the morning, and you would be there, you'd go back in at 7:30 at night for that client because you couldn't say no. But then you're not your best for those clients when you're literally just spreading yourself too thin. So Leslie, do you think that once we're done this Facebook Live, would you mind actually taking a shot of your schedule and posting it in the comments?
I can do that because it'll show just as busy. It won't show like individual client names because I don't want to do that.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it would be really valuable for people to see how your time is actually broken down. And that I think will be very beneficial for those that are watching at home. And Deborah says, yes, I'm sorry that time isn't available. Yeah, amazing, right, guys? Like, you don't have to tell people. And Leslie, that was a really great point that you said when you call the dentist, they don't tell you that they're going out for lunch. And that's something I think that a lot of trainers, we forget that we are professionals just like doctors and everyone else, and they're not telling us, they're not like, oh, I can't make that time. I'm going, like, how many doctors and dentists go golfing that they just tell you that they're like, my dentist, they have Fridays off every day in the summer, and it's literally because he wants to go golfing. And I don't feel bad about it. I'm like, go for it. That's amazing. Like, take the time. So I think it's really important that we set those standards up with our clients, because it also tells them that it's okay for them to say no to things in their life as well.
So I do want to tell you though, and this will be a surprising thing, I think, to some people. When I screenshot my schedule, I'll show you a week. You're going to see blocks of nothing, because that's what time blocking does, is it then gives you blocks of space. And you'll be surprised. You're like, well, you could work then. I'm like, I could. You're right. I could be putting things into that. But that's my time where I'm like, maybe I'll do a load of laundry in the middle of the day. Or, 3 kids is still 3 kids, and a family is still a family. And there's still things that I have to do. But there's also things I want to do. Like if I've been at the gym since, 4:30 in the morning, maybe I want to take a nap, and I can do that. Or maybe, that the open space is time where I can read a book, or I can, I'm still working. I'm, like I said, or I told you in our pre-talk, I'm pivoting. And so I'm working on some new ideas, and I don't really, I have to create space for that too. So you may end up looking at my block schedule and say, wow, you have a lot of free time in there. And that's what block scheduling does for you.
More free time though, right?
Right? Yeah.
When I think of a lot of the people that I have talked to, how many people, and even with our clients, right? How many clients tell us, I'm so busy. Like, I literally was talking to a client yesterday who gave me the excuse that she did not have time to make overnight oats. That was taking 2 minutes, right? And I told her straight up, I said, you know what? In the time that you just gave me that excuse, you actually could have made those oats. And I think that a lot of us tell ourselves that we need to be busy in order to create a result, but if we're not being productive, we're actually just wasting our time. So I think, Leslie, that's incredibly valuable for those that are watching, because if you're intentional with your time, you get more time.
Yes, that's really true. And I fall into the needing to be busy category. It's just part of my personality, and I think that's probably true for a lot of us. That's why we do this. I like to be busy, but there's also, so I have to force myself to do nothing sometimes, which is really hard, because nothing really means I'm just gonna like work out more or something.
Absolutely. So Leslie, before we wrap this up, do you have any more tips to give those that are watching?
Learn to put your phone away. It's a time sucker, and the world will go on. The people who really need to get to you know how to get to you, and just almost nothing is urgent. Almost nothing is urgent. And if we can get literally put your phone away when you're thinking, in your block scheduling time. In those times, many of us, I'll speak for myself, you get a little too dependent on having, instant contact all the time. I also set times when my clients cannot talk to me. I will respond to you between these hours. And if you send me a text outside of those hours, I will not respond until the next time. So just because we are available 24/7 doesn't mean we need to be available 24/7. So I think that's something we can all benefit from, is being a little less connected to our, tethered to our phones. Maybe we really do need landlines again with phone cords. I don't know. That's something that I've really found to be valuable, is just knowing that if I really need to be contacted, and that's very rarely, very few things are really urgent.
Absolutely. That's a really, really good point. I'm sure everyone watching, and let us know in the comments if this has happened to you before. I've had clients message me when I first started out at 9:30 at night asking if they could have peanut butter. They were like, "Can I have a tablespoon of peanut butter?" And I'm thinking, like, is this really what you should be sending me a question about at 9:30? Like, this is not urgent at all. And I remember reading it, and that was kind of my aha moment. And I was like, okay, I need to teach my clients to think for themselves, because they should not be messaging me asking me if it's okay for them to have peanut butter.
I got a last minute cancellation. I woke up to it. They sent it to me last night, but I have my phone on do not disturb, certain hours of the day, that the only people who can get through to me are my, on my, what are these, like your important contacts, they're my family. It's my immediate family. That's who can reach me. My phone will actually ding. But I woke up this morning, I was like, oh, well, they text me outside of hours. So they get charged for that because it's less than 24 hours of in cancellation, but I didn't wake up to it either. So, it didn't wake me up, because they were texting outside of the hours I answer. It sounds mean, but it's really not.
Well, when you think about it, we teach people how we want to be treated. And we were talking about this yesterday as well. If you tell people not to text you during times, or even say, like I have it for my clients, I say after 8 p.m., if you message me, I don't respond because I'm getting ready for bed. I go to bed at 9. But if you actually do respond to them after that, you're teaching them that it doesn't matter, that rule, you don't even follow your own rules. So it is a issue with integrity just for yourself if you're not following your own rules.
And I even take a 24-hour period once a week where during this 24 hours, this is, and I don't, the world has to be on fire to get to me.
Absolutely. That's my Sunday. I call it my tech-free Sunday, and all my clients, I have a scheduled Facebook post on Sunday, and it literally says, if you comment anything today, you'll hear back from me on Monday morning. And, even if you've pulled a hamstring, nothing I can do about it. On Monday, Oh, well. Leslie, this has been awesome. I hope those of you that are watching at home really found this chat valuable. Let us know in the comments just by saying yes if you found this chat valuable. And Leslie, on behalf of the Personal Trainer Development Center, I want to thank you for your time today and sharing your knowledge with us. And for those of you that joined us at home, we want to thank you as well for joining us. And don't forget to let us know in the comments your number one takeaway for your chance to win a free book. We're going to be giving those out. And if you want to have similar success as Leslie, you're going to want to check out this new course from Jonathan Goodman. It's going to give you the blueprint you need to move to the next stage in your career. If you're in the US, simply text PTDC to 444-999, or alternatively, you can go to the PTDC. Oh my goodness. Every single time. And so it's theptdc.com/intro. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Thanks so much for joining us. Bye.